How do you know you're right on any subject at any time? Stay with us. Wow, the presidential campaigns are really heating up. The vitriol that's coming from both sides is incredible. I mean, people are attacking members of their own parties. This is how bad it's gotten. Well, how did it get to this level of angst and anger? Essentially, this came about because we are at a crossroads in America. We can't continue to accumulate all this debt as we provide so many goodies to Americans and running up debt that cannot be paid off. At the same time, we can't continue to sit back and allow our country to be infiltrated by people who are going to start blowing up people at schools. This is a real dangerous time in America. It's a dangerous time to forget what really matters when people go to vote. There's an interesting quote from Thomas Paine's Common Sense from 1776. He says, "A long time of doing something wrong gives it the illusion of being right." This is what they said to the settlers in America, trying to get them away from thinking, okay, if we leave King George, who's going to be king of America? So it took a while, and Thomas Paine summarized it in Common Sense, which many say was just simply condensed and put into the Declaration of Independence by Thomas Jefferson. The idea is, if you've done something all your life one way, it's very hard to change. So you may have grown up in a political party and you just feel like a traitor to consider any issues from another party. And I really believe that it's time that you take a look. It really doesn't matter how you were raised. It matters what is going to save America from the mess that we're in. The reason there's so much angst between the political parties now, there's no gentility. The handshakes are insincere. This is a real war, and it's that classic war between the haves and have-nots that we worked ourselves into. Essentially, what brought America to this state is the fact that America did not complete the act to become a republic. In our schools, as we grew up, we were always taught that America is a republic. Remember, the Pledge of Allegiance today is, "And to the republic for which it stands." Well, I hope this doesn't come as a shock to most, but America is not a republic. The difference in these two really is paramount in why America is struggling today. So what is the difference between a republic and a democracy? Well, you go back in history, the democracy was essentially invented by the Greeks in the 600 BC, and essentially it was an idea where everybody would have a say in the government by electing representatives. It didn't take long for the Greeks to figure out that they could elect politicians that would give them the desired goodies, and pretty soon they couldn't afford them, and Greece collapsed. The idea of a republic, from the Latin res publica, a thing of the people, came about in the early days of the Roman Empire, but it never was able to be passed because politicians really hate to give up the power that a republic takes away. The thing of the people is a contract. The idea of the Founding Fathers was to have a republic, a true republic, the thing of the people. That thing would be a contract, a document by which the rules for governing the citizens and all the citizens' rights would be laid out and be adhered to for all of eternity. Unfortunately, there was a lot of Federalists who believed, wow, if you set up this firm rules and then we find out this doesn't work, because there had never been a republic in the world, what if there was a problem? So they had to put in amendments. Jefferson led a group to set up the rules for amending the Constitution. He said in one of the Federalist Papers, "I hope that the vote doesn't become a commodity to be traded in the marketplace." Well, unfortunately, here we sit in history 200 plus years later, and we know that that has become the case. But nonetheless, in order to get it passed, they had the rules for amendments, but it didn't take long after ratifying the Constitution that they realized that they had overlooked so many things in their generalities of protection of property. And they initiated a thing called the Bill of Rights, which they amended 10 specific areas of the Constitution with specific language freedom of speech, right to bear arms, etc. And that became, I believe, the strongest constitution that has ever been written in history, and it should have been, at that point in time, locked in, never to be changed. Many historians have written of all of the amendments from 11 to, I think, 26 today. Only the 15th Amendment about abolishing slavery has any merit whatsoever. Certainly the 16th Amendment, bringing in income tax, would have had the Founding Fathers rolling over in their graves. This was a king-like action to take earnings from the citizens to support the king. It just absolutely would have been appalling to the Founding Fathers. There were a few purists that opposed the 16th Amendment, but since they said, hey, 1% of your income over $10,000, which nobody earned except the super rich in 1913, so of course the income tax amendment passed. So essentially, if we had done a republic, people say, well, gee, under the democracy where the people rule, can you imagine having a country without having this annual vote of a new president and politicians to run the show and new rules? And I have to say, no, I really can't imagine what a republic would be like living with rules that were set about 100 years earlier. But I can easily imagine the effects of a democracy because we are living it. Today is essentially one large committee. If you really have great ideas that are so far advanced, it's going to be killed by the naysayers. If you have something that is so negative, there's going to be a few positive guys saying, well, let's at least try it. The result of meeting in the middle brings up the word mediocrity. Today, the challenges of trying to please both sides has led to an incredible amount of debt. Both sides, the Republicans got us into a war that is unwinnable and has destabilized the Middle East, costing trillions. On the left, programs to stimulate the economy, supposedly printing up money that is absolutely worthless on the street, but is today brought us to a $20 trillion national debt, which historically never gets paid off. No one, of course, no country has ever even really had $1 trillion of national debt. So 20 trillion, it's all academic after the first trillion, they say. A billion here, a billion there, pretty soon you're talking about real money. Essentially, the debt today is unpayable. Therefore, the only way countries can get their debt under control mathematically is by printing out new currency, which debases the value of that currency worldwide. If it's done slowly and you have a productive society, it may be tolerated. It can't be done all at once. If all of a sudden we printed up $20 trillion of currency, we'd be in real trouble. But because we have chosen to operate as a one giant committee that essentially comes from everybody having a say in how you can operate the country, and thereby compromising, well, I'll give you a little of that, America is in trouble. And the arguments that are coming about on each side of the political spectrum, and now within their own party they're arguing, is how to fix it. Many people ask, who's your favorite president in history? And I remember a lecturer once saying, well, it's William Henry Harrison. Well, why William Henry Harrison? Well, it turned out that he was the president who died 30 days after the inauguration, where he spoke in sub-zero weather, caught pneumonia, and died. Therefore, he did the least to harm America. Every president that's come in, depending on the Congress that's supported him or opposed him, really hasn't advanced America that much. We had a stimulus in the Reagan years, and that was offset later on by the war that George Bush put together. The Clinton years looked pretty good because the first 2 years was all he had a supportive Congress for. That's when Hillary tried to bring health care in. But the last 6 years of Bill Clinton was totally a Republican House and Senate, and they each canceled each other out, and we practically balanced the budget. Many people say the budget was balanced. This might be a good argument why you should have Hillary Clinton, because if you keep a Republican House and Senate, maybe they'll offset each other and we won't spend too much. But debt is going to kill America, and I hope as people make their decisions, you'll ask yourself, how do you know that you are right? What facts are you using? Because the media today, back in 1900, when all we had was newspapers, no one doubted that the information that came was true. They just took it for granted. As the years have gone by with radio and television and now cable and the internet, the competition for a news audience, it really doesn't matter. You have television and radio stations that are completely made to satisfy a certain political party. And there's one for every political party. So the information that people gather now, they may only get information that supports their cause. They don't get the big picture, and most people, unfortunately, don't understand history. So I hope that you'll take a look at history. Most importantly, take a look at your own ideology and ask yourself, where did I come up with this? That this party is always right. Did I get it from my parents? Maybe I respected a college teacher and that's the way he or she felt. The most important thing you can do is really ask where you got your own philosophy from. Did it come from really taking a look at the issues and the science behind them and looking for the true facts of any statement that's made by any politician? Did it come from your parents? Did it come from a respected teacher? What you have to look at now is try to make the right decision based on what history has taught you and where we are today. America's at a crossroads where it's really based on the economy. No matter what your philosophy, can we afford to have the country support your ideology? This will be a major breakthrough if people will just start understanding how history affects where we are today. It's not that difficult to do. And if you remember what Thomas Paine said, a long time of doing something wrong gives it the illusion of being right. Possibly backing the party of your parents or of your favorite college teacher isn't the way to go anymore. Possibly paying to make people happy isn't the way to go anymore. The old story of give a man a fish, he'll eat for a day. Teach him to fish, he'll live for a lifetime, makes a lot of sense. As you look around in your own families, you know that's true. So most of the people I've talked to have said, of course, I would never run my own household like we run the government. The reason the government can run that way is because you can vote for other people's money to be spent on your pet project. This happens in both parties. This is not a exclusively Democrat situation. There's been enough economic waste on both sides to fund 5 or 6 Americas. Where we are today, though, is at that crossroads. If America wants to be the beacon of freedom that all of the world looks to, it's time to get our business house in order. So fact-checking is really important. If you hear something that really turns you off about a candidate, do some research and find out if that's true. You might be surprised. So as we proceed with this election, I think we'll have more to say, and I look forward to your comments. I'll be happy to answer them by email or possibly in the next program. Thanks again.